Tonight, Sheila Gunn-Reid and I went to a protest against a proposed Alberta data center. We'll show you what people had to say. Might surprise you.
We are not sitting down for this one. We are not lying down for this one.
There was a massive improvement in life.
Under Mao?
Yeah, absolutely. There was absolutely mistakes that were made.
Well, I'm here to support anti-AI and data centers. And as a matter of fact, I've been pushing hard, online to stop or just to get stuff like this happening.
And would you call yourself a right-winger or a conservative?
I'm
or a skeptic or a dissident? I don't want to label you. Label yourself.
I'm a Rebel News fan.
Because I did see a toy guillotine here, which, what do you think about that?
I think that's f***ing hilarious.
If it's a joke, it's a symbolic, then it's funny. But, there was the assassination of a CEO in New York a couple years ago. The accused is Luigi Mangione. And I think on the left, there's this rising idea that maybe assassinations work.
I wouldn't say assassinations. He definitely, it was an extreme move, but it's one of those, we're all thinking it and somebody finally snapped.
Well, we're not all thinking it.
Okay, well.
Oppose this AI data centers. Oppose this information war. Stay strong in solidarity.
Oh, hi, everybody. Ezra Levant here with my colleague Sheila Gunn-Reid. We are in Morinville in northern Alberta, about an hour north of Edmonton, where for the last 2 hours there has been a protest against the big Meta data center. I'm not going to say it's planned for Alberta. They're building it already. They're breaking ground. It's going to be a huge project. $13 billion. That's just the first phase. Thousands of construction jobs, hundreds of permanent jobs.
A gas plant.
And Sheila, by the way, happens to live right there. Sheila, tell me about the place, because this is not some pristine field and meadow with like Bambi everywhere. This is a heavy industry place.
This is a heavy industry place. It's in the industrial heartland. It's where the city of Edmonton, Strathcona County, and Sturgeon County come together. And about 15 years ago, the industrial heartland was created. All the land there in the area was zoned for heavy industry. Heavy industry exists there already. Some of it is currently in crop, but that's just while it kills time before it's turned into something else. Maybe 10 years ago, there were a series of upgraders planned there. When the bottom fell out of the oil industry, they were put on the shelf. So this land has just been sitting there waiting for the next major industrial project, and this is it.
So it's already been zoned heavy industry. And if you know what zoning means, it's already been approved for smokestacks and boilers and stuff, the kind of thing you would expect in an upgrader. But instead, Meta said, well, we're going to build our stuff there for a lot of logistical reasons. For a climate reason, it's easy to cool something in northern Alberta than, let's say, you're building a data center in the desert of Texas.
Well, not just the formidable climate that we live in, but access to water and access to natural gas, because the facility will be supported by its own natural gas generating plant.
That's the thing, these data centers, Elon Musk wants to put them in space.
Right.
He says you put them in space, it's solar powered, and you don't have any issues of protesters. I added that last part. And that's what today was. I came across a small article in the local newspaper here. I think it was the St. Albert Tribune, if I could be wrong on that. And it mentioned that a 20-year-old student named Ben Baril was organizing a protest. And I remember when I was 20, I was a troublemaker a little bit myself. I didn't really think, okay, this is going to be a long weekend, Sunday. The weather's a little gloomy. As I was driving out here, Sheila, I thought, there's no way anyone's going to be here other than Ben and you and me. There were, I'd say, 200 people here today, and we did a lot of interviews, and that in itself, Sheila, you live in a saner part of the world. I live in Toronto. You go to a left-wing protest, they see the rebel mic flag, they immediately, the walls, they either run or they get violent. At the very least, they say, F off, I'm not talking to you. Not a single person here said, I won't talk to you. Some people recognize rebel. In fact, the very first guy we saw, which we were walking in, is wearing an NDP hat. He said, oh, rebel. Well, I have a different point of view than you. The only people who knew us, they said, well, you might not agree with me. Well, yeah, but let's have a conversation. So there were climate activists and there were communist activists. And I put that to Ben, the organizer, because they weren't just, like, they were speakers. He had communists and climate extremists as speakers.
Consider joining the Revolutionary Communist Party. This is not one fight against one AI data center. This is a fight against the capitalist system.
We didn't specifically try to coordinate with them to bring their setup. We didn't plan to have the Revolutionary Communists set up a table here. They're just kind of a fixture at a lot of protests, so they kind of mobilize on their own. But
he did speak.
He did speak. I quite honestly wasn't expecting him to plug the Revolutionary Communists, because this is sort of supposed to be a relatively politically neutral, like, opposition to data centers and to sort of the threat that they pose to the community, because this is a broad issue. This isn't specific to the left or to the right.
As you said, he did put that to him. There was an extremist, I guess, left-wing element here, an extreme in their views, and not that they're violent. A lot of anti-billionaire, expropriate the billionaire and trillionaire people there.
And you want to expropriate what from Elon Musk?
Well, we'd start with some of his businesses.
What's your view on Tesla? Is that a positive or a negative?
Well, what do you mean?
Well, environmentally, for example.
Well, I mean, I think there's some potential for electric vehicles to be good for the environment. I think that they're not meeting that potential right now, and that's because they're being used for the profit of this guy.
Google, Meta, Amazon. These people are no friends of democracy. Their funding, their greed, their dominance, their surveillance. We are going to be what's called a panopticon society. That is, they're going to monitor your every move. They don't care for our health. They don't. Or our safety, let alone the health of the Sturgeon County wetlands. These men are the ones really in power. These politicians are their pawns in a generational monopoly game.
If this particular data center is not built, you're still going to use your Facebook account, I'm guessing. You're still going to use email. You're still going to stream Netflix. But it would just be from a data center somewhere else, right?
But the question is, how much of the data center is used for just internet? And the answer is not much. They're building and overbuilding data centers now because of the computational requirements for AI. And AI is something that they're pushing so fast to make money that they're overlooking the downside, unfortunately.
There's a lot of people who are going to get jobs building this thing. And if we don't build it here, like you say, it'll go up in some place in the States or heck, in China. And why can't Alberta have some industry?
Alberta can. Alberta can.
Why not this one?
No, that's misrepresentation.
No, I'm not misrepresenting. I'm just putting it. Help me answer my question then. Help me out.
But you're answering the question by throwing out your own answer. So my answer is this: consultation.
I don't think we're necessarily stopping local jobs, because, I mean, where the jobs we're stopping theoretically 3,000 temporary construction jobs, which are largely probably not going to come from the community.
All of these decisions which impact our lives come down to their money stolen from the people. The only time we are permitted a say is when their profits come under threat. Yep. Which only happens when the working class bands together.
What are your thoughts on Peter Thiel?
Well, personally, I think he's kind of a weirdo.
Well, you put his eyes in red, so it does look weird, but that was Photoshop.
Sure. Yes, I'm aware that the red is Photoshop.
So, well, then what do you think about him that's weird?
Well, I think that it's very interesting that he is so very anti-human. He does not care about the social conditions of people, that's very clear, but he doesn't seem to care about the lives of people either.
Can you give me an example? I've never heard that about him before.
Well, have you heard of Palantir?
Right, yes.
Right. And you know how he names all of his companies after evil things? Because he's very interested in controlling people. He's very interested in breaking down the people ourselves and the backgrounds that we have. And he's not interested in improving anyone's life but his own.
So has he said anything in particular? Because you're saying you're characterizing him as weird and evil, but yet you haven't actually given me an example yet.
Well, I don't think I can remember any of his quotes offhand. But it's very easy to find this stuff on the internet.
Meta has poisoned water tables from Cheyenne, Wyoming, Oregon, you name it, across the border. There's problems in Ontario being reported.
This protest will not be enough because they will come back and they will say, oh, we consulted the community. Oh, we consulted the land. Oh, we made sure to do everything right. They write the laws, and we are fucked by that.
We are not anti-technology. We understand, though, that these people's wealth are coming off the backs of the workers, of the working people of America, Canada, and the world.
I think SpaceX workers are some of the best paid people in America.
Okay, well, what about the guys who make the components, the chips that are being shipped in from China?
You know, I saw some amazing stories about literally welders who had shares in SpaceX who are now millionaires because this IPO. Like, I think I would love for every tradesman to be paid as well as SpaceX paid their people.
Yeah, and we could be doing that, except that we have people at the top who are parasitically sucking the money out of the pockets of the working people.
Electricians working on this project, their salaries are poised to double. And when electricians make more, carpenters make more, pipe fitters make more, do you think these trades jobs are really low quality jobs that won't come from the community?
Well, I'm more talking about the sort of maintenance jobs that need to be done during, like, once it's in operation. A lot of those are sort of replacing, like, my dad, he works in sort of the tech IT industry, and he says a lot of these jobs in the within data centers are sort of just replacing components on computers that break and sort of general building maintenance. The work environment itself is incredibly hot, regardless of like the cooling system. That's out of, like, not part of this equation at all. And then, of course, they're incredibly loud. Like, people in the data centers have to wear hearing protection at all times.
You know that the people who stand to gain are wealthy foreign corporations, and that this is not about Canadian data sovereignty.
We have a housing shortage in this province. Why are we not using the trades jobs to build out housing in a meaningful way? Why are we diverting them to something that ultimately is going to be used to spy on the community? It's going to be used to destroy the environment. It's going to be used to replace workers. Why are we not using tradesmen whose skills are incredibly valuable and who we need more of in this province, especially bricklayers as well? I've heard that there's a huge shortage of bricklayers.
But the housing jobs aren't there. The electrician jobs are there, and you're here protesting against them.
Well, but you use electricians for housing. You use electricians for other industries. It should be the responsibility of the government to attract jobs that are attract jobs for these people that are beneficial to the community, that are building out our public infrastructure.
But they were willing to talk to us and tell us their viewpoint.
We were not sworn by Antifa. Never did I feel at risk, and we were wandering around. And Ben himself gave us 10 or 15 minutes, which he didn't even have to do. And I'm not impressed with all of his answers, but the fact that he answered is interesting.
You had a capitalist transaction with the communists early on.
Oh, it was so funny. I wanted a pamphlet. I wanted this pamphlet from the Revolutionary Communist Party, and they insisted on charging me.
I said, okay, that's $5.
I have never in my life been told to pay for propaganda, but I thought it's too delicious not to pay $5 to the communists for a capitalist transaction. I thought it was very funny. Can I ask you why you're focused on data centers? That seems a bit random. Help me out. What was on your mind when you guys decided to come here today?
I think that
I'll take a copy of that and I'll do some extra reading at home. Yeah. But maybe I can put one of those in my pocket or something.
It was $5 to cover.
$5? Boy, you're a capitalist. You know what? I'm not even kidding when I say I don't carry cash on me these days.
We have card.
Oh, okay. Up. You know what? It's very rare. It's very rare to see someone selling a brochure, but I love your sense of capitalism. I'll give you $5.
Well, we need to pay workers and purchase the paper.
I know, the free market, it's not, sign me up, I'll give you $5.
The day that I can give you this for free is the day that I know we've won.
Yeah, that would be unusual. Okay, I'm ready to pay. Can I do it on your phone there?
Yeah, $5.
Here I am, engaging in an act of capitalism with my new communist friends. Okay.
I I think we kind of exist within capitalism in the same way that
there it goes. Now, some data center somewhere processed both sides of that.
Sorry.
All right, I just purchased $5 worth of communist information.
Supporting communism. That's awesome.
Well, I don't know if that was my purpose, but I'm going to read this later, just to go deep on the
Yeah,
thinking.
I think it's good to try to understand, other people's what we're actually saying. Not what the news media says about us, that we're crazy terrorists and things like this.
Oh, I wouldn't certainly call you terrorists, at least not you guys. Maybe some of your fellow travelers in other countries. But I was just asking your colleague here, why data centers? Why does that get stuck in your craw?
I think because people are angry about it.
So you're just sort of, any revolution is a revolution. A communist joins any other revolution, right? That's what Lenin would do.
Communists are just workers and students who want to fight against the system, who want a better life.
So if there's any fight against the system, a communist would join.
Of course, yeah.
So data centers is hot right now.
Yeah, people are really mad that they don't have control over their lives, over their community, and people are trying to have a say. And I think what's interesting about the data centers is it's broached the left and right divide to.
Are there any right wingers here today?
Sorry?
Are there any right wingers here today?
I haven't talked to anyone specifically yet, but we've had people that, we've had separatists come to these types of rallies because a lot of what the separatists want is, a say over their life. They want their life to be better. And
how does shutting down this data center in Alberta change anything other than the AI will be made in China versus made in Canada?
Well, we wouldn't actually call for it to be shut down. We would call for workers' control and for workers to decide what should happen. So workers should be deciding that the AI data centers aren't being used for Palantir and to kill civilians across the world, for example, or to target migrants with ICE. The workers should also decide what type of facility it is. It should be closed loop water, which it supposedly is. I don't really trust these people because they also said that they would bring their own electricity, and that's already not true for at least the first 2 years of its creation, which Danielle Smith has admitted to.
So if there was a data center that was run by the proletariat, you'd support it?
If workers had control of their whole lives, yeah. Workers should be able to control the types of businesses that are around, the types of work that they do, everything like that, and that includes data centers.
Marxism versus identity politics? Yeah. China's long march to capitalism. So help me out on that one. In your view, is that a good thing or a bad thing that China is becoming more capitalist?
A bad thing.
And why is that?
I think we've seen the decline in the conditions of the people in China as a result of their return to capitalism.
I think a critic would say that the Chinese middle class has grown very quickly. There's no more famines. There's a lot more housing and infrastructure. I think a lot of people would point to electrification. I mean, I'm very skeptical of China, but can you not acknowledge that the average Chinese person has more prosperity now?
I think a large part of that is just the historical product of combined and uneven development. When you have a country that is, backward for a very long time, it's able to import the most modern forms of technique from without.
But what do you mean by backward? What was backward about it?
Economically, it was built on, very backward forms of technology, right? Like the vast majority of the country were peasants existing in a very primitive state of production.
Don't you think that's because of communism?
No, the planned economy was able to revolutionize a lot of the productive forces in China. Upon the basis of what remained of the planned economy, this gave them an advantage in the transition to capitalism.
Expropriate the billionaires. How did that work in China when they sacked the capitalist class?
Well,
did it make the poor people richer, or did it just make the rich people poorer or dead?
There was a massive improvement in life.
Under Mao?
Yeah, absolutely. There was absolutely mistakes that were made, but ultimately, including if you look at the Bolshevik Revolution, the fact that they went from the most backwards country in the world to almost winning the space race, I think is a testament to the fact that they were able to actually grow their economy.
So how did the Russian Revolution, why did it fall if it was so successful?
Because the capitalists continued to attack it. They don't want competing systems because the workers will look at the Russian Revolution, the Chinese Revolution, and will take inspiration from it.
I thought that communists, they believe that the workers should own the means of production, but they believe in production. Are you against building this factory?
I'm against building it for private enrichment of the billionaires.
So would you be in favor of it if it was owned by the government?
Not our government, not the Canadian government, not the Alberta government, but a government of worker control, letting the people keep the products.
So let's say if there was like a cooperative or a collective of workers who said, let's build a data center, would you support it in that case?
Well, it's preferable to the government owning it or the billionaires owning it, but the key problem here is what this is going to be used for.
I agree that the Communist Party being here is rather interesting, but I hope that you don't give the idea that this whole thing was organized by that. They just said, hey, we agree this AI thing is not a good idea, so they joined.
They're crazy, but that is the way young people are. When you look at Zoran Mamdani, when you look at AOC, communism and socialism are on the march. And so we might say they're crazy. Yeah, they're also having a renaissance. And Mark Andreessen, a venture capitalist in Silicon Valley, who is a turbo capitalist, he said a lot of young people, their only experience with capitalism is negative. Number one, student debt that they'll never pay down. And number two, they'll never be able to buy a house. So the things that make a person invested in the free market system, I own a house, I'm saving up, I'm paying down debt, I'm going to have something of value. Especially in big cities, no young people can afford a house. So if you're not seeing any of the fruits of capitalism, why would you support this system? Why not be against capitalism?
Right, but there's a great irony in that, because a lot of the people who will be building the Meta data center are probably roughly the same age as some of these young people protesting here today, young Alberta tradespeople who will be making $250,000 a year as an electrician. The data center is a solution to a lot of the problems that they're talking about here. But I will point out that there was a third experience with capitalism that one of these young communists pointed out, and that was COVID. And the COVID crony capitalism that we saw with the government and their friends getting handouts and the vaccines, they brought that up too as one of their formative communistic experiences.
And that was one of about 20 things I heard today that made me say, I sort of have some common ground here, because it absolutely was crony capitalism. And, the most famous video I've ever participated in my life was when I scrummed Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer, on the streets of Davos. Take a quick look at that.
Mr. Bourla, can I ask you, when did you know that the vaccines didn't stop transmission? How long did you know that without saying it publicly?
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. Answer that question. I mean, we now know that the vaccines didn't stop transmission, but why did you keep it secret?
He was crony capitalism. He and his friends in government, Anthony Fauci, Theresa Tam, they made billions. And so many companies.
Frank Baylis here in Canada with his ventilators, close ties to the Liberal government.
It was all and you're exactly right. Thank you so much. So that young woman, I said to her, what flipped you? What made you a commie? And she said COVID. And at first I thought, what? No, but I get it. If that's what you think, if that's what the world says capitalism is, Well, who wouldn't hate that?
Right.
How did you come to this way of thinking? Was it your family, your school, how did you become a communist?
I got mad during COVID that there was no plan for the economy, that profit was being made while people were losing their lives, and that there was no real discussion over anything that was going on. I would say including the vaccines, not in people shouldn't get vaccinated, but in that there was these corporations that charged the Canadian working class multiple times for single doses. They charged the Canadian government took on the risk of the vaccines, and then the Canadian government bought the vaccines after. But
and that made you a communist?
I was mad that there was no plan. I was mad at the George Floyd killing, at the murder of George Floyd.
Hang on a second. What you just described absolutely was a plan. The COVID was totally about a plan, planning who could go where, planning curfews, planning.
Workers didn't get to control that. We didn't get to decide that. Trudeau, who was it, Kenny? These are the people that got to decide what we did, and I don't trust them.
But you want more power. I mean, communism means government has the ability to make decisions. You want to give more power to government?
I think we should have more referendums, actually. I think we should have, I think there should be a referendum on nationalizing the oil bosses and putting the oil companies under workers' control. I think there should be referendums on data centers. I think we should have more say.
All right. Well, you've certainly given me a lot to think about. Nice to meet you. What's your name?
Abby.
I'm Ezra. Good to meet you. What's your name?
My name's Caden.
Caden, good to meet you.
Have a great day.
Bye, guys. If you're a tradesman in a pro-trades jurisdiction like Alberta, you'll be doing great, whether it's oil and gas, building data centers, whatever. But you went to some second-rate university like Toronto Metropolitan University, you got a degree in communication studies or whatever, you got 50 grand in debt, you can't buy a house, you're not going to get the job of your dreams. And so naturally you're going to hate the billionaires, the gajillionaires. And there were a number of things that I heard that rang a bell with me. There was a guy, and we talked to him afterwards, and he was a little bit cryptic. He said, I'm not going to tell you my name, and I don't want to show you my face. He talked about being a voice actor who had his voice stolen, synthesized, and appropriated by AI. I don't know the facts of his story. It sounds plausible to me. We know that AI is hoovering up basically the entire internet without regard to who owns that intellectual property. OpenAI just had a huge settlement with a bunch of authors. I think $1.5 billion they paid for stealing their books. There are reasons to be worried if you care about privacy, the surveillance state. One guy referred to the panopticon. That's true. Here, let me just give you a taste of the one guy. He was a little bit radical, and I think he was a man of the left, but it's tough not to take the side of a guy who's worried about privacy and the information war against us. Take a quick look.
I've been a voice actor and a different entertainer for different types of projects. My voice was stolen by AI and synthesized. My likeness stolen. And here's another thing, is that these companies have massive social media networks that scrape data. That is how these language learning models work. Generative AI works. They steal art. They steal people's imagery. They steal people's information. They synthesize it. They amalgamate it. I know Rebel News. I know you guys well enough. I know that you appeal to the right wing. So I'm just going to say something that unifies everyone.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay? Because I'm not here to be partisan, believe it or not. I'm here to present an issue that's simple, okay? Is that everyone needs to breathe, everyone needs to pay energy bills, and everyone has information sovereignty. The more that is distorted, the more that it is controlled by different forces outside of your control, the worse it gets. And whether you're right wing or left wing, that is an issue that presents to all of us. I'll leave it at that, sir.
Can I ask you this, though? Some would say that AI is here whether you like it or not, and the question is it Chinese-developed AI, Chinese-managed AI, or American, Western, European, Canadian AI? So to put the genie back in the bottle is impossible, they would argue.
Talking about the inevitable crawl of automation and labor and AI and all of that, if you're looking at it as an inevitability, then look at it this way then. Look at it this way. Regulation and people's responses is inevitable. People's responses to this technology, just like any other technology, is inevitable. Trains, oil, anything, cars. There's legislation, there's rules that people back because of safety problems, because of health problems. We wear seatbelts because people were being flung out of cars. We stopped drunk driving because people were swerving all over the road. These were rules placed on the automotive industry. The same will happen to AI.
What brings you out today?
Well, mostly my daughter, who's very concerned about AI. She's an author and did a challenge, AI versus author, sort of like John Henry driving steel. But
so she's worried about AI. Does she think it should be stopped?
Well,
let me ask you, because
for doing things that it should not be doing, like appropriating authors' works or artists' works and so on. That's not a good thing. AI is a powerful tool that can be used for very good things, but also for pretty bad things.
Well, Sheila, what I want to do now is we had so many little interactions, and I'd like to show people, not all of them, because we've been talking nonstop for more than an hour to folks here, but just a sample of some of the things we heard.
Stop the slop! Stop the slop! Stop the slop! Stop the slop!
Even though the mayor of the county of Sturgeon said there was consultation, if you have 0 people show up, you probably didn't advertise it well enough. So there's due diligence on the part of all politicians.
Danielle Smith is saying the residents of Sturgeon agreed to this. I'm a resident of Sturgeon. I have always been a resident of Sturgeon for many years. My husband owns farmland, and no one approached us. There's nothing in our mailbox. There was nothing in our online. There was nothing advertised. It was just the only time we heard anything was when it was agreed to. We never agreed to this.
What about the environmental consequences? Should we forget about those, even though we're in a race with China, as you put it? What about the resource uses? It turns out that, yes, they'll build a power plant to power, but not until a couple of years after it's open. That's 900 plus megawatts they'll be using off the grid, which could affect us. But worst of all is the process. Not many people heard about it, and this is just one project.
You know that the water usage is being understated. And it doesn't seem like a coincidence that the province cut funding for the Alberta Water Council earlier this year. Like me, you know they're planning to build the Greenlight gas power plant to run this data center, which will have an impact on local air quality when we're already struggling with devastating wildfire smoke every year.
I'm worried about the environmental impact. I'm worried about historically what I have seen in the United States with the increase in electrical consumption, the poor management of data centers, and the cost that comes back to the people in the areas. And I know it's in the county, and a lot of data centers in the States are in larger urban areas. But the reality is that the due diligence hasn't been done in terms of all of the environmental impacts.
The only safeguard against tyranny is the free flow of information. Beware of he who wishes to deny you information, for in their heart they dream themselves your master. Thank you, everyone. Oppose this AI data centers. Oppose this information war. Stay strong in solidarity.
If this land were a field of canola, it would use more water than its proposed use as a data center. So,
fair enough.
Like, my point is, compared to what else was going to go there, this is a light touch.
Where would the water go when it's used to water the canola? Would the canola pollute it? Would it add strange chemicals to it? I don't think so. But the point is,
I'm not sure if that's what a data center does.
And I agree that the oil industry has caused more pollution than this will. However, the question is, if we're doing something new, should we say, oh, well, that's dirty, that's okay, so we don't have to do anything better now? The question is, can we do better now?
We are polluting this planet harder than we ever have before. If you were to figure out the per capita emissions, Albertans are the worst polluters on the earth.
Is this just a reboot for the climate movement with a new news peg in the form of data centers? Like I heard a lot of stuff that I've heard for 20 years, just general anti-industry, anti-oil, anti-carbon stuff. What's different?
I would say that I personally am hoping to sort of push it beyond that, because I know that the historic environmentalist movement has been very anti-industry. It's like the Green Party, I've seen them speak sometimes, and they will advocate for the sort of abolition of resource extraction and stuff like that, which just isn't feasible, right?
We are here because 30 minutes that way a development is coming, over which we can only speculate the ramifications, although we've been elucidated with some real figures. We all share similar concerns. Our planet is on fire because greenhouse gas emissions are out of control. Municipalities everywhere in drought. Food supply chains in crisis. Energy bills for all of us are poised to skyrocket. All of this boils down to one thing. We have no say.
We live in a very technologically advanced society, so things like data centers are necessary in some cases. The question is where they're being built, who's going to be running them, and what purpose they're actually going to be used for.
Whether or not we build AI here, will we be able to control AI in other countries or other continents? Likely not. And the question that some people pose is, are we heading for a cliff?
This is a fossil fuel expenditure our planet just cannot afford. And I know this is an economically complex statement to make in Alberta, but if we want a livable future for ourselves, for our kids, and for all living beings on Earth, it's a reality we have to grapple with.
The Canadian citizens aren't being consulted about anything that's happening anymore. They're not even pretending that they give a shit what we think, you know, and there's people writing letters and stuff. We don't need to be writing letters. Like, we need to be doing illegal shit. We need to uprise. There needs to be like big moves, big actions happening to like actually, like, we need to remind the politicians that they work for us.
We are not sitting down for this one. We are not lying down for this one. Take your jackhammer and do something.
But it sounded like you were talking about direct physical action.
Yeah, we need to be like tarring and feathering these people.
Do you mean that literally?
Yeah, no, like we need to be, we need to like remind the politicians that they work for us. If they don't work for us, then like they're literally.
Isn't that what elections are for?
If voting made a difference, they wouldn't let us do it.
Are you talking, and again, I don't want to put words in your mouth because you didn't say it, but I'm trying to understand what you mean. Do you mean violence?
No, I don't mean violence, but I mean like, how do I describe it?
Like civil disobedience.
Yeah, civil disobedience. Like honestly, like, you know, the idea if we stop paying our taxes, if we stop going to work, if we stop cooperating.
Okay, that makes me feel more comfortable because I did see a toy guillotine here, which, what do you think about that?
I think that's f***ing hilarious.
If it's a joke, I mean, it's a symbolic, then it's funny. But, you know, there was the assassination of a CEO in New York a couple years ago. The accused is Luigi Mangione. And I think on the left, there's this rising idea that maybe assassinations work.
I wouldn't say assassinations. I mean, he definitely, like, it was an extreme move, but it's one of those, like, we're all thinking it and somebody finally snapped.
Well, we're not all thinking it.
Okay, well, a lot of us are fed up. A lot of us are fed up with a lot of things. And
we believe in Mother Earth. We believe in the survival of our people. We were put on this earth to survive.
I think having open conversations is a huge thing. Like, if we aren't willing to converse, we're not going to get anywhere. Especially like people, you, me, everybody else here, like we should be coming together because, you know, there's power in numbers. You know, the small population of the people making these decisions are vastly outnumbered by, you know, ordinary citizens that actually want to live a life in a healthy country, you know.
I'm so glad I went in best foot forward.
You did. Well behaved.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't pick fights.
Nope.
I could have asked tougher questions, but they would have changed the dynamic. And I didn't want to be, I wanted to actually observe.
You were on your sincerest best today, and they were trying to give you chocolate bars at the end.
Well, yeah, they just look at me, and that's an instinct people have. Feed him, feed him. But let me make a prediction here. This is absolutely the issue of our age. Climate change, the energy's gone out of it. Gaza, well, that's going to be a slow burn, but I think that with Israel out of Gaza, and I just think the temperature on that issue's gone down. So this is the defining era, I think, for the populist left. Bernie Sanders going full tilt AOC, Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, announcing a moratorium. Naheed Nenshi in Alberta, a few years ago, he would have held himself out as the innovation guy. I'm the high-tech, cool innovation guy. Now he's this is the unifying issue on the socialist left, radical left, populist left across North America. This was the realest protest I've been to. I didn't see your typical handlers. There were a couple of NDPers here, but no politicians. This issue ain't going the way. And my comments earlier about how McDonald's tried to rebut some of the propaganda, if the AI people don't start doing it, and with different spokesmen, like there is something about the tech bros, that they have a certain reputation already and a certain style, and they've got egos. And Mr. Wonderful, as he calls himself, a lot of the people who are behind the data centers have some PR, let's just say, they have some PR challenges. And sending out billionaires to make the case is probably not going to do it. There was even a Rebel News guy here today who was thrilled to see us here. And he was also against AI and data centers. I tried to get to the bottom of it. Here, take a look.
Well, I'm here to support anti-AI and data centers. And as a matter of fact, I've been pushing hard, online to stop or just to get stuff like this happening.
And would you call yourself a right-winger or a conservative?
I'm
or a skeptic or a dissident? I don't want to label you. Label yourself.
I'm a Rebel News fan. And I stand behind Rebel News, 110%.
Now, we have some worries about AI. We don't understand it fully. But one of the things that we came here today to investigate was, are these just anti-industry, anti-oil and gas climate activists? Because it sounded a bit like they were grafting on the anti-data center stuff to just anti-energy, anti-development stuff. Does that worry you?
I think everyone's really concerned. This is very disturbing. We can see what's happening in the U.S. and it's destruction of society and all the freedoms.
So that's a real rebel. He hugged us.
Yep.
He's and believe me, I know what rebels are like. That's a rebel. Yep. And he is here with a bunch of communists and climate extremists and leftists and NDPers because he's worried. And when I pressed him a bit, he's just worried about AI, not so much this one data center.
This feels a lot like the space race all over again. It was, freedom versus communism. And that's what's going to happen with AI. You stop AI, at least in the Western world, and the communists will win. And I don't think a lot of people see that parallel. China is not going to stop. And China will do sinister things with AI. They're already doing sinister things with AI. People are worried about control. Imagine if China wins this race.
I don't like Mark Zuckerberg at all, really. I think he was a brutal censor. It still is to a degree. Of us, like Rebel News, paid a steep price because of Zuckerberg's censorship. His historic statements about privacy, I think a lot of people remember when he basically said, to hell with privacy. So putting a guy like that in charge of making the case for AI is probably not wise. But what are the reasons that we can be optimistic about it? What are the reasons that we can have policy fixes instead of trying to unplug the entire economy and shut it down and put the genie back in the bottle? What can we do to allay the fears of there were good people here today. That's the difference. I can't look at anyone here that I spoke with and said they were malevolent or motivated. Even the communists. Even I said to the commie, what made you a commie? She said COVID. Well, I had a different reaction myself, but I can see why someone would be detonated by what COVID did. So there's a lot of work on this issue, and you can see why the NDP and the Democrats and the leftists, they are all in on this because it's the only popular thing they have. Not that they have a solution. It's just they found something to demonize that lets them attack capitalism, trillionaires, industry.
Unify skeptics around a common cause.
There was a mix of people here for a whole number of things. I saw a couple of kafiyas. AI is what brings everyone together. And some of the speeches were incoherent that way. It was like a laundry list of every fear.
Manifesto style.
One of the speakers really felt like a Ted Kaczynski type guy.
I saw it. I zoomed in on his notebook, and it was, the writing was 4 spaces wide, like 4 lines, and just scrawled. And he was angry. He was angry and spitting on the microphone.
Opposing AI is sort of like an ink blot test, a Rorschach test. You look at it, and you can always find yourself in that ink blot. Do you care about privacy? Do you care about environmentalism? Do you care about sovereignty? Do you care about democracy? Like everyone here, I bet there are 200 people, I bet they had 200 reasons to be here, and AI is malleable enough to give them each that motivation that climate no longer does, Gaza no longer does. It does feed into anti-capitalism. I tell you what, I'm so glad I came here today. I thought it was going to be a nothing. I remember driving up, I texted you, I said, it's just going to be us and Ben the organizer. No, it was us, Ben the organizer, and 200 people.
200 people. And, it was a cornucopia of humanity.
Yep.
There were people.
Raging grannies.
There were raging grannies. There were raging dinosaurs. More masks than I've seen in Alberta in a long time. But I share some of the concerns of these people. I just think the solution is to then build AI here.
Very interesting. I'm sure we'll continue on this subject for quite a while because the other side is revved up, I'll tell you that. Sheila, thanks very much for coming out here and for helping. And I didn't even notice the trans flag on the driveway there. Welcome to 2026, I guess.
In small town Alberta, take back your municipal town halls, people.
Oh boy. Well, listen, thanks to all of you for watching. Thanks to Sheila for her support. Until next time, on behalf of all of us at Rebel, to you at home, good night. And keep fighting for freedom.